Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to tackle a really deep question, one posed by the philosopher J. Krishnamurti, all the way back in a 1979 seminar. And it's this: in a world that feels like it's completely falling apart, what is the right thing to do?
Okay, so let's really start right where he did, with this exact question. And this isn't some abstract thought experiment. He's saying, look around at the world, at what he calls the appalling disorder. What is any of us supposed to do about it? What is the right, the intelligent, the sane action to take? And right away, Krishnamurti does something really interesting. He pivots. He suggests that before we can even think about the right action, we have to look at the person who is acting. The problem might not be what we do, but the very foundation we're doing it from, this core belief that we are all separate individuals.
I mean, this is our default setting, isn't it? We all operate as a me, with my problems, my security, my ambitions, my family. Krishnamurti points out that this has been our collective operating system for thousands of years. But then he has this huge question. What if that core belief is just flat out wrong? And here's the crucial point he makes. If the individual is really just a small piece of a giant puzzle, then any action that piece takes all by itself is, by definition, a fragmented action. And what happens when a fragment acts on its own? Well, it creates more fragments, which is just another word for division, for conflict, for all the chaos we're trying to solve.
You know, you just have to look around to see this logic in action. All these individual, self-centered actions, they just keep leading to more and more conflict. It seems kind of inescapable, right? But if that's the wrong way to go, what's the alternative? What kind of action comes from a place that doesn't see itself as just a fragment, but as part of the whole?
Okay, so this leads us to the big alternative that Krishnamurti puts on the table. And it's not just a new strategy for how to act. It's a complete and total shift in our sense of who we even are. See, his argument is that, yeah, sure, our bodies are all different, or taller, shorter, we have different jobs, live in different countries. But our inner world, our psychological consciousness, he says that is not unique at all. In fact, it's the shared consciousness of all of humanity. Think about it. The anxiety you feel, the sorrow, the fear, even the pleasure. He's saying that's not yours. It's not your private property. It's the universal human experience. We all share this. Psychologically, you aren't separate from your neighbor or from someone halfway across the globe. You are that person.
Okay, but this is the part where things get tricky. And you could tell the people in the original seminar were really struggling with this too. Because it's one thing to hear you are the world and just kind of nod along, but Krishnamurti is pushing for something way, way deeper than that. He really insists on this difference. Is this concept just another cool idea you've understood with your brain and added to your collection of thoughts? Or is it an absolute living fact for you? Is it something as real, as tangible as the air you're breathing right now? One of the people in the seminar actually came up with a great way to explain this. He says, look, an illusion is just a thought. You can't reach out and touch it. But a fact is what's really happening. It's got a reality you can test. It's like a microphone. You can touch it, you know for sure that it's there. The suffering you feel is the fact. The story your mind tells you about it, that's the illusion.
And that's the real test, isn't it? As someone else points out, you can hold on to an illusion all day long, even when the facts are staring you in the face. But a real fact? Well, that just stands on its own. And the argument here is that our shared consciousness is a fact, one you can see for yourself, once you start to question the illusion of being separate. All right, so let's really follow this train of thought all the way to the end. What if you do see the individual self as an illusion? What if I am the world becomes a total living fact for you? Well, the implications are just staggering. So Krishnamurti throws this incredible question out there. I mean, who are you, really, besides a bundle of memories? The good times, the bad times, and especially all the times you've been hurt. All recorded by this thing you call me. If that me is actually an illusion, then what on earth happens to all its memories? And this is where the famous physicist David Bohm, who was actually at the seminar, just cuts right through it with pure logic. He says, look, if the thing that remembers being hurt was an illusion to begin with, then when that illusion is gone, the memory of being hurt has to go with it. But hold on, does that just mean you get amnesia? No, and this is so important to understand. You don't forget that the event happened. You can still remember the facts, the circumstances, what was said.
What's gone is the sting, the emotional charge, the psychological scar. You literally cannot call up the feeling of being hurt anymore because the me that was supposedly hurt is gone. So, this whole deep dive into identity and illusion and memory, it brings us right back around, full circle, to that very first question we started with. But now, that question feels completely different. Okay, so let's just recap the logic here. We've established that action from the separate self just creates conflict. If you see that not as a theory but as a hard fact, then that entire way of operating is just finished. It's no longer a viable option for you. And so, Krishnamurti sets up this whole new starting point. Action is no longer about me trying to fix the world. The me is out of the picture. The new basis for action is a mind that has realized it is the whole of mankind. Action starts from a totally different place. And this is the challenge he leaves hanging in the air. If that little, separate self, with all its fears, its ambitions, its history, if that's no longer in the driver's seat, then what is the source of action? From where does an intelligent, orderly, and compassionate response to the world's chaos actually come from? And well, that's the question we're left to explore.